Today, I'm going to talk about Carmilla and how I think she may actually be responsible not just for the death of her daughters while on Earth, but also the fact that they are in hell as opposed to heaven. But real quick, if you haven't seen it, we did a big breakdown of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie explaining how the young girl Abby is kind of a metaphor for the entire Five Nights fandom. Maybe check it out and let me know if you see yourself in Abby at all. Link in the pinned comment down below. Now, Carmilla is one of the many overlords introduced in episode 3 of Hazbin Hotel, giving us not just a look into who they are, but even some songs and dramatic revelations about them. Carmilla was first seen in the Hazbin Hotel pilot, where she is hiding out with two other overlords that we would later see at the same meeting in episode 3, Zestiel and Zilla, with Lucifer seemingly hiding in the shadows. We also saw what looked like early drafts of her children picking up some of the weapons left behind by the Exorcist from the annual extermination. Carmilla would be referenced again in episode 5 of Hell of a Boss, where Moxie claims that Stryker's rifle is genuine Carmine crafted. This indicates that it is a very big deal to make sure angelic weapons are crafted by her and not someone else, with other people possibly melting the metal down so much that they don't actually do their job, which is the killing of the otherwise immortal sinners. Most overlords are sinners who lived a life on Earth before coming to Hell, but some overlords in early live streams were said to be long-living natives of Hell, such as Rosie, though we don't know how much of that will still be true in the series proper. While in Hell, sinners have no reproductive abilities, and instead their children are people who were once human like them and then died to end up in Hell instead of Heaven. That means that Carmilla's two children lived on Earth and seemingly died relatively young, and we have reason to believe it was because of Carmilla herself. While they all could have died at different times, Carmilla being seemingly older and her daughters being adult, but not so adult that they have a sense of independence in Hell, tells me they didn't live long on Earth without their mother, if at all. Overlords generally have power and then success that reflect their life on Earth, and I don't imagine Carmilla to be any different. For Vox, he lived when TV was just taking off, and was the first one to come to Hell with that power and the knowledge on how to use it. Valentino and Velvet similarly came in with adult films and later social media. With that in mind, Carmilla likely dealt largely with the weapons trade in real life as well, and would continue that business when she first manifested in Hell, even before angelic weaponry took off, with everyone having their own cool, iconic weapons in the show, that even before the implementation of angelic weaponry, still would have helped sinners keep each other in line for the sake of avoiding pain, and would still give them the ability to outright kill native demons like imps. There was probably an angelic weapons black market before Carmilla arrived even, but after making a name for herself with weapons as a whole, adding angelic metals to new weapons would be the way that she became one of the more powerful overlords in Hell. These weapons are meant for use on other sinners, but in the most recent of the annual exterminations, Carmilla Carmine herself is indicated to have killed one of the angels, claiming she did so to protect her children. Now, some fans say that she didn't directly state that she killed the angel, and the wording of things is vague enough that I wouldn't be surprised if the show revealed that it was one of Carmilla's daughters who actually killed the angel, and that Carmilla is just trying to cover it up. But she does mention in her song that if people found out and a war started, she might lose the ones she was killing for. Now, this is meant to make us think that she killed the angel, but others would argue that she could be singing about all the sinners who have died because of the weapons that she put on the market, and with that possibility in mind, that she still may be covering up one of her daughters doing the actual murder. It would make a lot of sense considering they are seen going around and scavenging for weapons in the pilot, but Carmilla is just seen hiding in a room with Zilla, Zestiel, and seemingly Lucifer as discussed before. Regardless of which one of them actually did this, it paints the picture that Carmilla is trying so hard to protect her daughters because she is the reason they are dead, and not just dead, but in Hell. On Earth, Carmilla likely was involved in the weapons trade, like I said, and like in Hell, she probably had her daughters working for her. We do not know their exact origins, but they do appear to be Latin American, and Carmilla may have seen her natural talent for crafting weapons as a way to keep herself safe from the various cartels and general competing groups in her country. By aligning herself with one of these groups, she would not just be able to provide wealth for her family, but also protect them from the greater chaos happening around them, making them less likely to die in the crossfire as just random civilians. Heaven is naturally hard to get into for a variety of reasons, but it would seem to me that some characters have more obvious reasons for why they are in hell than others, even if they are more technical than about true morality. My theory is that Carmilla did not take a life with her weapons when she was a human on Earth, but as her whole code seems to be selling items but not using them herself, and that is something I imagine she rationalized as morally okay while on Earth. I imagine her as taking some karmic debt for how these weapons are used, and thus she ended up having doomed herself to hell just by making them, along with her 2 daughters who probably assisted. Despite thinking that the cartel she aligns herself with would have protected her family, I think that they would have ended up dying in some sort of conflict that made it to their own territory, leading to the immediate death of not just Carmilla, but also her daughters, who I think she had taken on similar karmic debt while working for her. This would make Carmilla feel personally responsible not just for her daughter's death, but also that they are demons instead of angels in heaven. Like on Earth, Carmilla would find herself working into the primary conflict of the world around her, with her wanting to rise in the ranks of hell with angelic weaponry in order to protect her daughters, who she now risks losing forever every time the annual extermination happens because she did not get them into heaven. She got into this business to keep her daughters safe in hell in general, it would seem, but somehow her daughters ended up being targeted on the annual extermination itself. I don't imagine Carmilla as sending her daughters out there during the actual extermination for weapons, considering we see Carmilla hiding herself and she sings about wanting to protect them, with them just getting out a little bit earlier than everyone else to collect the weapons in the pilot, I think. And thus, something else had to have happened in the middle of the night that made Carmilla have to attack and kill this exorcist. That is, if it truly was her and not her daughters, or some bigger, more complex story, of course. Now, where would this go from here? So far, it seems like Carmilla's children are starting to feel that they need to help their mother, with one of them suggesting that they at least tell Zestiel what actually happened, which is part of why some fans think that one of the daughters is responsible and Carmilla is trying to make sure she takes the fall if anything happens. In the Hazbin Hotel trading cards, where we first received Carmilla Carmine's full name, we also had a card simply called Heaven's Courtroom. While Adam wants to keep the death of the exorcist a secret so he can get his revenge with a bonus extermination that does more damage than ever before, this card implies that there will eventually be some sort of court case surrounding the death of the exorcist. It would be a bit bland to have Carmilla go there and be on trial and nothing to really advance despite it, so I have to imagine that this trial will largely be about slowly revealing a bigger truth that Carmilla is trying to cover up, one that protects her daughters. While more information about them may come out in the trial, I imagine that Carmilla will still try to take the blame, and in the end, this would be a better punishment in the eyes of Adam. He would see it as a way to deliver more anguish and suffering to demons, inflicting a punishment on Carmilla, maybe not even having her killed, but instead having her locked away, and thus not being able to defend again when the next extermination happens and Adam and Lute head straight for her daughters. This would make Carmilla's sacrifice something that ultimately only puts off the suffering of her daughters, but I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and don't forget to check out the video we did explaining the hidden symbolism in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Go watch it and see if you relate to Abby either as a Five Nights fan or as a traveler of fandoms in general. See you guys there.